On March 15th, 2023, everything changed when I faced a near-death experience and met Jesus, who unveiled the chilling truths about the mark of the beast. This revelation isn't just for me. It is a call to awaken society. It is a call to awaken society. Stay tuned, or risk missing the urgent warnings our faith desperately needs. It was a bright afternoon on March 15th, 2023, when everything changed. I was on my way home from work, the sun beaming through the trees, creating patterns across the road. The last thing I recall was the sound of screeching tires, a noise that cut through the calm like a knife. At 42, life had me juggling motherhood and a career that consistently pulled me in opposite directions. My heart was weighed down with spiritual uncertainty, caught in a tug of war between the faith I was raised in and the questions that plagued my thoughts. I had always felt like a spectator in my own life, often wondering if the beliefs I held were truly my own or merely handed down to me. Then, in an instant, my world flipped upside down. A devastating car accident left me clinically dead for a staggering 6 minutes. What unfolded next was beyond anything I could have ever anticipated, thrusting me into a reality that reshaped everything I thought I knew. As I drove down the road that fateful day, my mind raced with thoughts of my family and the mundane worries of life. I remember glancing at the clock, 5:17 p.m. A wave of dread washed over me, a sensation I could not quite place, but I brushed it off as just another moment of stress that accompanied my daily routine. Little did I know, my mind was about to be put to the ultimate test. Out of nowhere, a car barreled toward me from the left, and time seemed to stretch into eternity as I grasped the steering wheel. I distinctly recall my heart leaping into my throat. I braced for impact, feeling both fear and a strange sense of calm, as if my body already knew what was about to go down. Then, nothing. Everything went dark. Doctors later told my family that I was gone long enough to be outside my body, experiencing death itself. It is hard to describe, but in that moment, I could sense my heart momentarily stopping. It was as if my entire existence was suspended, and in those crucial seconds, the world collided into an overwhelming silence. No thoughts, no feelings, just quiet. But in that silence, I found myself thrust into a realm far beyond my earthly understanding, setting the stage for a pivotal encounter. It felt surreal, as if the very concept of time and space had shattered, leaving me in pure, unfiltered awareness. I had no idea then how profoundly this experience would shift everything I thought I knew about life and what comes after. I don't have words to explain the moment my consciousness shifted. One moment, I was surrounded by darkness. The next, there was an extraordinary light. It wasn't like anything I had ever seen or imagined. I can't even describe it as mere brightness. It felt alive, pulsating with love and warmth, wrapping me in a tenderness I had never known. And there he was, Jesus. I can still see him in my mind, standing before me not just as a figure of faith, but in a way that transcended all understanding. His presence was magnificent, truly. I was taken aback by his sheer beauty and radiance, clothed in purity, with an aura that demanded reverence. His eyes were both compassionate yet penetrating. I felt my soul laid bare before him, and for the first time, I saw my own flaws and fears reflected back in his gaze. In that sacred moment, all my fears melted away. I was no longer the frustrated mother, the uncertain believer. I was simply me, even as my heart drummed loudly in disbelief. An overwhelming sense of acceptance washed over me, almost like a balm, soothing deep-seated wounds. I realized I was no longer bound by the weight of judgment or regret. Nothing else mattered, but what followed next was profound. He began to speak to me, unveiling truths about our world that would forever change how I viewed my life. It wasn't just about spiritual doctrine or religious teachings. It felt like an intimate conversation between two souls genuinely seeking understanding. Each word he spoke vibrated through me, igniting something dormant within. It was as if he knew the questions I had buried deep inside and was compassionately providing clarity I had always yearned for. That was the moment I knew this encounter was meant for more than just me. The gravity of what lay ahead began to unveil itself, and I sensed that the insights he would share were not only for my transformation, but for the collective awakening of many souls, still tethered to confusion and concerns. As I stood in that ethereal light, absorbed in his presence, Jesus began to unveil hidden truths about the mark of the beast. His voice was steady and calm, yet it carried a weight that made everything feel solemn. It wasn't just some ancient scriptural warning anymore. It transformed into a tangible reality deeply embedded in our contemporary society. He made it clear that this message was not merely about prophecy. It was a warning against compliance, both spiritual and societal, directly tied to the choices we make each day. I remember him gesturing toward the world around us, highlighting the devices and systems we often take for granted. Tracking technologies, which initially seemed so benign, and our growing dependence on platforms that simplify our lives, became alarming examples of potential coercion. This is the beginning of compliance, he emphasized, each word striking like a hammer against my heart. A mixture of fear and enlightenment enveloped me as I listened. It felt like peeling back layers of deception clouding my understanding. I found myself hanging onto every word, feeling as if my very existence depended on grasping the implications of what he was saying. It was no longer just about the choices I made in my life. It was about a larger reality, the collective decisions of society. Each point he made ignited a sense of urgency within me, pressing me to reflect on my own role in this unfolding narrative. But what haunted me the most was his tone when he spoke of the dangers associated with accepting this mark. The urgency with which he communicated felt almost palpable. It dawned on me that this was a call to moral awakening. In that moment, my heart raced as I realized the stakes at play, not just for me, but for everyone around me. How could I go back to my life knowing what was at risk, caught between a deep-seated spiritual struggle and the reality I returned to? Then, as if reading my very thoughts, Jesus leaned closer and issued a warning. To accept this mark is to surrender your soul. Those words hit me like a thunderbolt, reverberating through every part of my being. My heart ached with the weight of responsibility that came with such a profound message. I felt a fierce urgency settle around me, wrapping tighter with every beat. I remember the atmosphere thick with tension, like a storm just before it breaks. He implored me to consider how easily society could wade into this choice, lured by the convenience these tools promised. Be discerning, Emily, he urged, his voice steady yet layered with compassion. Time is critical. People need to understand what is at stake. I could almost feel the weight of countless souls hanging in the balance, all tethered to the decisions being made by those who were oblivious to the deeper implications at play. Emerging from this sacred encounter felt like being thrust back into a world stripped of its veneer, raw and exposed. Thoughts swirled in my mind, tangled and chaotic. Would I be able to communicate what I had learned without being ridiculed or misunderstood? The enormity of that message pressed heavily on my chest, conjuring a sense of dread mingled with resolve. How could I possibly convey something so significant to my family and my community? That internal struggle shaped my thoughts as I returned to reality. A reality that now felt surreal, like a dream from which I wouldn't awaken. I stepped back into my familiar surroundings, yet every detail now seemed laced with urgency. My world was teetering on the brink of a significant choice, echoing the warnings I had just received. Could I take that leap to challenge the comfortable narratives we often accept, risking the bonds with those I cared for? When I regained consciousness in that hospital bed, I felt like I had been baptized in revelation. Every fiber of my being teemed with urgency. It was as though my spirit had been ignited by the truths I had encountered during those moments with Jesus. I had seen something profound, an understanding of the world and the choices we face. And I knew that this insight could spark conversations, awaken fears, and even inspire transformations in others. With each passing day, I became a vessel of urgency, compelled to reevaluate everything that had once felt comfortable or certain. My career, my relationships, and, most importantly, my faith. I began to see the layers of my life through a new lens, where my story connected to something much greater. Every passage from the Bible that had previously felt distant now resonated deeply, revealing meanings I had been searching for but couldn't articulate until then. I implore anyone listening to take stock of their own spiritual journey. The world around us is evolving rapidly, and with it, the choices we make echo into eternity. Let my experience serve as a reminder to listen to your conscience and pursue truth fearlessly, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's not just about understanding the mark of the beast or complying with societal norms. It's about asking yourself what you truly believe and why. If my story resonates with you, I encourage you to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Let's embark on this journey together, raising awareness and understanding about what is to come. Your journey towards understanding starts with one fundamental question. How will you navigate your own faith amidst these truths? Thank you for being here with me as I share this deeply personal account. May it inspire you to seek truth in your heart and navigate the complexities of faith with confidence. Join me in exploring the uncomfortable truths that lie ahead. How will we prepare ourselves? Together, the insights I gained could very well be the key to metamorphosis in your life. Don't miss out on this chance to awaken your own spiritual journey.